Coming up on the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast.
What are you showering in?
Yeah.
That's more important because when we're showering, we're in there. Depending upon the condition of your skin and depending on the product that you're using, you can actually test the soft tissue and the blood inside your body, and they will be able to detect the ingredients within 30 seconds to 2 minutes inside your body.
Wow.
Okay, this is how we absorb things into the body. So we know we're going to take a shower for more than 2 minutes, and it's hot. No one takes a cold shower. Well, you do if you're living a healthy life, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
But most people are taking a hot shower. So the pores are opening. So we're really absorbing that in. So we want to make sure that what we're showering in is just as safe as what we're drinking, right?
Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I'm Brian Grin, and I'm here to give you actionable tips to get your body back to what it once was 5, 10, even 15 years ago. Each week, I'll give you an in-depth interview with a health expert from around the world to cut through the fluff and get you long-term sustainable results. This week, I interviewed best-selling author, podcast host, and certified toxicity and detox specialist, Aimee Carlson. Aimee is helping people restore and renew their health by removing hidden toxins from their home and their lives. We discussed her own health journey through migraines, headaches, and numerous reproductive issues. We also discuss detox tips for your own house. What should you cook with? Could your detergent be causing hormonal issues? And then top toxins in your food, water, and air. Lastly, we discussed her one tip to get your body back to what it once was. I really enjoyed my interview with Aimee. A lot of great tips for around the house. So thanks so much for listening and enjoy the interview. All right. Welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin, and I have a very special guest. I don't say that for every guest. Aimee Carlson is on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so glad to be here and share with your audience. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. This is a different angle. I've never had someone like yourself with your background and talking about toxic things in our environment and our foods. And just to let the people know, you're an author, podcast host, certified let's see if I get toxicity and detox specialist.
Yes.
Okay, say that 20 times now.
I dare ya.
She calls herself the Toxin Terminator. I love that. I wish I had that name. Well, why don't you let the audience know, how did you get that name and go down this path regarding toxic and detox and things like that?
Absolutely. So I had my own health battles, and through my entire adult life, I suffered from multiple chronic diseases, lots and lots of reproductive issues for myself, as well as neurological issues too. I actually was a certified mechanic. That's what I did for 30 years. I worked on cars.
Would have never guessed that. Would have never guessed that. That's
surprise. And I own several facilities. I own 5 different facilities, and I knew what toxins were based on my work. I had no idea that I also had them in my home. And I actually, quite by accident, fell into learning more of a holistic approach to our health. And I am so forever grateful. I always say that essential oils were my gateway drug into living naturally. And that's what I did. I discovered essential oils, and I was very pessimistic about it. I, had been to every doctor on the planet, every specialist, and just knew if they couldn't heal me, how are these little bottles going to do anything for me? But they did. They changed my life, and I learned, what were my toxic exposures. I learned how to eat right. I learned how to move my body. I learned how to listen to my body.
And so you talk about chronic disease. What type of things did you suffer from, and how long did it take to overcome them?
Sure. So what I had, many women can relate to this. Sorry, Brian, you know, maybe close your ears while we talk, but
Mhm.
I had really, really bad menstrual cycles. And to the point where sometimes I couldn't leave the house because I couldn't keep myself dammed up. I'll just leave it at that. And um, I had a hysterectomy when I was 37 years old. I was actually diagnosed being in menopause at the age of 36. Most women, for your knowledge, the average age of going into menopause is 47. So I was way early. And having all those different symptoms happening in the reproductive arena of the body also led to a lot of personality things happening with me. Just to give you a piece of what life might look like. My husband, one morning, I saw him looking at me just really quizzically, you know, kind of that, you know, like the puppy dog look, you know, they
Mhm.
tilt their head and they're looking at you funny. And I
Yeah.
said to him, What's going on?" And he's like, "I'm just trying to figure out which Aimee is waking up today."
Mm.
You know, we sometimes I don't think that we even understand how our health issues impact our life, but we certainly, it's a wake up call when we look at our loved ones and we realize the impact our health issues are having on them. And that was what kind of my wake up call, that I knew I needed to do something. Because I don't know if you're familiar with menopause, but you can go from happy go lucky, joyous, everything is fine, in a blink of an eye there is this rage that was so uncontrollable with me. So
Mm.
I had that happening. I had night sweats. I had hot flashes. I didn't sleep for years. I would get 2 hours at a time and I'd be awake. I'd get another 2 hours at a time and I would be awake.
Mm.
So those were all surrounding hormone reproductive issues. And then the one thing, two other things. I had neurotoxicity. So I had headaches every day. I had migraines that I actually lost the vision on my left side from.
Mm.
And I also had really bizarre things that would happen about once a quarter. One morning I woke up and I couldn't even see the jawline. I had like I went to sleep fine. I woke up with this abscess and just really swollen face.
Mm.
Had to have plastic surgery and tubes put in, and it was a nightmare. So just bizarre things like that.
And so you're attributing a lot of this from the toxins in your environment. Is that correct? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I don't know if your listeners are like me, where, and at that time, Brian, I was a half marathon runner. I was exercising.
Right.
I somewhat looked at what I ate. I was thin. I have been thin my entire life, and I equated the fact that I was thin to being healthy.
Mm.
You know, maybe somebody listening can relate to that, but it has nothing to do with if we're healthy or not. And so on the outward, you know, appearances, it would look like I was healthy, but I was far from that. And I think so many people, you know, we're doing all the right things, we're eating all the right things, we're moving, but we haven't got to the toxin side yet.
Mhm.
And we might still have symptoms. We might still have menopause. I was able to finish going through menopause with zero symptoms, zero. Um, we we can't lose that weight. Everything that we do, we just can't lose the weight. And there's a reason for it, because we've got to put that third piece to the puzzle.
And so how did you go about finding out which toxins, you were being exposed to and it was affecting you? How did you go about that?
Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
huge trial and error,
Yeah, I bet.
right? You
Yeah.
know, it's, 8 years ago, there was some talk about this, but not much. And this is why I got into my space. There is lots of people out there talking about food, and that food be thy medicine and heal themselves, and, you know, that type of thing. And there's a lot of people in the exercise field and talking about that, but no one was really talking about what are we exposed to on a daily basis inside our home. I'm not even talking about out in the world, just
Right.
inside the home. So
Yeah.
mine was a lot of trial and error. I was a huge guinea pig to try different things out and figure out what was going on with my body.
Yeah. And what did you pinpoint? Was it certain like a metal toxicity or, I know, you hear it like in being obviously in plastics, even in like the bed, right? Beds, certain beds with the was there one thing that you pinpointed, or was it just sort of a combination of a bunch of different things?
It definitely was a combination, but let me tell you this, as I started into my journey, two things I changed immediately in my home within probably the first 30 days was what I cleaned with and what I did laundry with.
Mm.
And Brian, since I did those two things, I have not had a headache nor a migraine. So it's been way better than 7 years, going on 8 years.
Wow.
And I had no idea that those two items were some of the biggest endocrine disruptors in our bodies than anything else inside of our home. So as I went and I kept learning, I kept digging, I was fortunate that the city I lived in had this massive leadership role in the area I was in. And so there were weekly classes being held, and
Mm.
I just immersed myself. And what I came to, Brian, is that there's really 5 pillars of toxicity that we're all exposed to, right?
Okay.
So there's stuff in the air,
Right.
there's stuff in the water,
Mm-hmm.
there's stuff in the food that we eat,
Right.
there's stuff in what we absorb through our skin. So we're talking personal care products, cleaning products,
Mm-hmm.
and then mental. We have to address the mental piece too.
When you say mental, do you mean like actually, what do you mean? Like 5G? Like 5G? Like, are you talking about like from our cell phones and things like that?
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about your thoughts. I'm talking about your
Uh,
words. I'm talking about,
okay. Like,
how do we let things affect us? Because we let them. We have a choice. And that was a huge learning curve for me as well. But we can dive down each one of these pillars if you want to. And I'd be happy to kind of give this is what we really want to watch for in this pillar. There's
hmm
lots in each one, but here's kind of the biggies. And here's what you can, some
yeah,
safer
I
options.
think that would be great because I mean, I'm interested in it, and it's something that I think people should just, like you mentioned, be more aware of. It's just something that just doesn't get talked about.
It doesn't.
And so starting on that, you talk about cleaning and laundry. I'm curious, what were you using, and what did you switch to?
Sure. The standard, what everybody uses.
Right.
You go to the
Tide.
grocery store,
Yeah.
Tide, I can't even
Right.
remember all the names now. You just grab what's on the counter because let me go back to the industry I was in, the automotive industry, highly regulated. And so what we used within the facilities were highly regulated, not just the products that we sold and used for service work, but what we cleaned with, all of that stuff. We had to have personal protective equipment. We had to have material safety data sheets. We had to have all kinds of stuff. I would have never thought that if there's a product being sold in a grocery store
Right.
in the United States, that it would be unsafe for us. Never even crossed my mind. Right. And it's far from the truth.
And I'm guessing a lot of these products are probably banned in Europe, but in the United
Many
States,
are.
yeah,
The United States is really far behind in
yeah.
terms of what they allow and what they don't. And what's interesting, Brian, when you start digging into this, you find, for instance, Heinz Company. They have different ingredients, even state to state in the United States.
Mm.
They have different ingredients and different labels in United States versus other countries that they're in.
Hmm.
It's, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, crazy. So, okay, so
Okay.
okay, so let's get into well, the cleaning and laundry. So you went from, a brand name, let's say Tide, to, I mean, now, I will say, if you go to like a Whole Foods, you can, find ingredients and sort of these off brands that are sort of emerging, which is nice. I'm sure maybe 10 years ago there was a lot less of that.
Right. In the beginning, I made a lot of my stuff.
Right.
Fortunately, I've been aligned with several different companies. There's lots of great companies, and I don't want to drop names,
Yeah, that's
on the
fine.
podcast. But if you go to my website, I have a an ebook that is available to people, and I give here's the companies I use, and drop those. So one of them is Young Living, one of them is My Green Fills. My Green Fills has tons of laundry cleaning products. I love them because not only are they organic and natural products, but they're also good for the environment. When they send you stuff, it comes in a package that you open and add to warm water into a container that you already have. So we don't have all of the plastics and all of that stuff. So there's some good companies out there. Here's what I would say is, this is what I did to learn stuff. Is I learned, there's an app called Think Dirty, because even stuff, I wouldn't buy a lot of the stuff that's in Whole Foods or Sprouts or Trader Joe's just because I know the ingredients I want to avoid. Now, I didn't know that in the beginning. So there's an app called Think Dirty.
Okay.
And it's free to put onto your phone, and you can scan personal care, cleaning products, all the products in the world. You just scan it or type it in, and it'll give you a safety rating from 0 to 10. 10 meaning very toxic, you don't want it in your home. 0 meaning completely safe. Go ahead and bring it on in.
Yeah, that reminds me, like when I'm shopping for like sunscreens.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
EWG, right? Like
yes.
And I'm sure they have maybe a toxic list for, like you're mentioning as well.
They do. It's called, it's an app called Healthy Living.
Healthy Living.
I actually prefer Think Dirty over EWG. Now, EWG I use for a lot of things, and I'll get into that when we talk about the water pillar. But Think Dirty has way more on their database. EWG tends to be more kind of cleaning products. They don't get into a lot of personal care products, laundry, that type of thing. So if you want more of a broad base, Think Dirty is going to be that. And it was created by a woman who's, I can't remember if it was herself or her mother went through breast cancer. And we know that there are a lot of products that use cancer causing agents in it. And so that's why she developed the app, so that we could have safer products.
Yeah. Wow. It's sad to think about that you can't trust, it's almost like you can't trust, well, we know that we can't trust the government when it comes to food guidelines. We know that. But as far as cleaning things and products that we put on our body, these brand names, it's almost like they just try to make a product that, like, they're almost like cutting corners, and they try to make products as cheaply as possible to make the biggest margin, right?
Absolutely. It's all about the almighty dollar. And they know that there's a big movement in eco-friendly. There's a movement towards natural. So we see words on products that mean nothing. Just like you would probably teach your people, don't look at what's on the front of a product, turn it around and read the label so that you know what's in there. Because there's products labeled gluten-free that, of course, it's gluten-free. It has no wheat base. It's going to be, so we have to do the same with what we're using inside our home. Don't pay attention to what the marketing terms are on the front. Turn it around and read the label.
Yeah. And on that note, I'm curious about the water filtration, things like that. You're moving, I'm actually moving as well. And I did get some filtration. I just think that's something that gets overlooked. Even also, like if you're using ice cubes, right? Like you can get good filtered water, but what are those ice cubes being filtered with? Which is another, sort of.
Well, let me add another layer to the realm here for you, Brian. Is what are you showering in?
Yeah,
that's more important, because when we're showering, we're in there. Depending upon the condition of your skin and depending on the product that you're using, you can actually test the soft tissue and the blood inside your body, and they will be able to detect the ingredients within 30 seconds to 2 minutes inside your body. Wow. Okay, this is how we absorb things into the body. So we know we're going to take a shower for more than 2 minutes, and it's hot. No one takes a cold shower. Well, you do if you're living a healthy life, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
But most people are taking a hot shower. So the pores are opening. So we're really absorbing that in. So we want to make sure that what we're showering in is just as safe as what we're drinking, right?
Sure. And so, like, for example, if you're at the store, you have this Think Dirty app, you can scan it and it'll sort of give you an overview of,
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. And EWG. So if you don't know, you're moving right now, go to EWG, click on their water tab, and they'll have a little site there that you can put in the zip code of the city that you're moving to, and
Right.
it'll tell you what test in your water. Now that's where you need to start, because what you have in the water is going to dictate what kind of filtering system you're going to need to have for the home.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm in Chicago. Where are you located, actually?
I'm out in Arizona right now.
Okay. Nice and warm. Nice and warm.
Well, I got, yeah, I'm sleeveless right now, so it's
Actually,
80 some degrees.
we're almost 60 today in Chicago.
Wow.
On the taping, it's March. What is today? March 3rd. Yeah. So
What a heat wave.
heat wave.
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
Okay. So water. Yeah, water's such a big thing. I think that just gets overlooked a lot. And then what about like let's talk about the air that we're
Sure.
breathing.
So the number one
Yeah.
thing we want to avoid in the air is fragrance. We're breathing this in, and fragrance is deemed the new secondhand smoke. It
Really?
really is. It's a respiratory and a neurotoxicity to the body. It is cancer causing. So what I want to tell your listeners is we want to buy products that are fragrance free.
Okay.
Unscented still has the chemicals creating the fragrance, and then they add more chemicals to cover up the smell. So look for products that are fragrance free, and we're seeing more and more of those options today than ever before. But that will be that, and that was what was causing my headaches, by the way, was the fragrance in the products. And it's in everything: laundry, cleaning products, personal care products, even products that look like they're natural. Turn that around. If you see the word fragrance, because here's the thing: the word fragrance, they can choose out of 44,000 different chemicals, and they don't have to tell you what's going in there. And most times when we see the word fragrance, it can be upwards to 200 of those chemicals within that label. So
Wow.
we just don't know.
So fragrance free is a good rule of thumb.
Yes, fragrance free.
Yeah. And it's just amazing. What organization overlooks all this? And has they've gotten stricter through the years, or is that something that you've noticed or no?
There's really not. I mean, there's really not. There's, FDA,
Right.
products have to go through. And here's how the policies in the government works: is prove it's causing danger, not that it's safe. Right. So
Right.
you'll
Right.
see things get recalled all the time because, we let it through, and now we find out that it is causing issue. Now we're going to back it off. So the policies are: let it go, prove that it's dangerous, and then we'll remove it, unfortunately. So you have to rely on organizations like EWG that has a host of scientists that are researching and helping us as consumers who want to make safer decisions.
Yeah. And so we talked about air,
Mm-hmm.
water,
Mm-hmm.
like food, obviously something that we talk about. I talk a lot about on my podcast. What are some things? I know we talk about the almighty vegetable oils.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. That are hidden in like everything that you buy.
Everything. Yep.
Is there something else that sticks out as far as toxic?
Well, I'm sure you cover things like sugar. That's
Sure.
one of the biggest inflammatory products that we can use, and it's in everything.
And they
Products that
disguise it in a lot of different names, right?
fructose corn syrup. I mean,
Brown rice syrup.
you
Yeah.
run the gamut with it. So let's talk about, food coloring and dyes. We don't want food coloring and dyes inside of our food. We don't want preservatives in our foods. We don't want pesticides, herbicides, fungicides in our food. Those really cause a lot of damage to the body. So even just those three things are going to make all the difference in the world. And what I tell people is to avoid a lot of the bad things in food, the toxicities. If you turn that label around and there's more than 5 ingredients
Yeah.
listed, just don't buy it.
I was just going to say that. I think that's a good rule of thumb because there's so many ways to sort of hide all these bad ingredients.
Yes.
But if, pretty much, like you said, if there's 5 or 6 ingredients, you're probably looking at a pretty clean product.
Certainly better
yes.
than another choice that you might make, right?
Right.
And of course, I'm sure you teach people. I would just assume that you don't buy something you have to read the label on.
Right.
Let's
Right.
let's eat what's from Mother Nature and whole foods, but we know not everybody does that. And when it comes to produce,
Yeah.
our fresh produce, we want to make sure we're buying organic. And my tip for you on organic, because a lot of people say, "Oh, it's too expensive." Well, when we're talking our health, I don't think anything is too
I
expensive, but
agree.
that's my opinion. Um, but what I can tell you is look in your freezer section. That's tip number one. Many times our food is more nutrient dense in the freezer section than it is even fresh, because we
Hmm.
don't know how long it's been on a truck, how long it's been sitting on a shelf. So you can get a lot of organic food for far less than the fresh when you go to the frozen food section. The
So
second thing,
so like frozen organic vegetables, you're saying?
oh, there's vegetables and fruits both
Yeah.
in the frozen section. So great option for you. Second, especially when you've got a large family that you're feeding, that type of
Right.
thing. The other thing I would encourage you to look at is what's the clean 15 and the dirty dozen?
Hmm.
Or my favorite, what do you eat the most of? What do you eat the most of? If you
Right.
eat blueberries every day, then I would think blueberries need to be on that organic list. If you eat a banana once a month, maybe not so important to be organic, right?
Right. Right. And like avocados, I know that's one of those things where, since it has like a shell per se, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's not as important as maybe like strawberries, right? When it comes to
Well, right. With the thicker skin, yeah, you're exactly right.
right.
Thicker skin, not going to absorb as much as the things with thinner skins, like grapes.
Right.
Grapes have a very thin skin. Melons, musk melon, cantaloupe, honeydew melon, watermelon, those types of things, very thick skin.
Right. And you're also obviously peeling a banana and you're peeling an avocado. So you're sort of taking that off. But don't get me wrong.
Orange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
orange. Right. Exactly. As opposed to blueberries or raspberries where, you're just eating them, straight, without peeling.
Right.
Yeah.
How they came right off the vine. You betcha.
um, okay. And then, did we miss one or we got everyone?
Talked food, we talked water, we talked air, absorption. We look at the Think Dirty app to really get some clean options there. Mental. So, a mental
Mm-hmm.
piece of toxicity for me I look at it twofold. We have our external toxicities when it comes to mental. That means what people, places, things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We can just roll it down to people, places, and things. We've got no control over other people, places, and things that are happening out there. We have to learn techniques to let go of that, to know we're not in charge of it and we have no control over it. The
Right.
second piece is the internal. What we think becomes our words, becomes our actions, and dictates what our reality is. And we can change our thought process. If you wake up in a bad mood, you know what? You can restart that day. It doesn't mean you have to stay the way that you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah. No, I'm all for that. I actually wrote a kids book, and the
Love
book was
it.
all about like life lessons for kids and having a positive attitude. I think when you're young, they absorb everything, right? So you could
Yes.
influence kids in a positive way, and on the mental side of things, we all need help, right? Every once in a
Oh,
while, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even people I'm in the field and I have days where it's like, I just need to be locked in a closet and not let out to see anybody, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We all have those times, but for the most part, we can choose to be happy or we can choose to let life get the best of us. What way are you going to choose to live? Because no matter what, life is going to happen. Time is going to pass.
right.
How are we going to do things? And the other thing I like to talk to people about is, it's about more than just you. When we take care of our mental health, we become a better person for our kids, for our spouses, for the people in our community, our family. When you're in a good frame, you smile at the person walking by, you
Yeah.
give them a compliment. We can make the world a better place.
No, I agree. Actually, that's the one thing, like with the whole quarantine, is the masks. It's like you can't. It's tough to smile at people when you see them, and I think hopefully, obviously, we'll be through all that, and we can actually like use facial expressions to
Oh
other
my
people.
gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we got three states lifted the mask mandates just yesterday, so we're
Oh,
on our way.
no, that's good.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit about your new book coming out, Detox. Um, Tell me a little bit about that and what people should expect from that.
Oh, you bet. So summer times are always the time I write my books. And this my first book, The Toxin Terminator, it was all about these 5 pillars, walking you through the 5 pillars. I get very, very detailed in the book. I give life stories from 5 different women who have been down the same path as well, so that you get firsthand experience with what they did. And
Yeah.
the second book is going to be all about the detox process, because it's an equal piece of the puzzle. You have to take your hand off the fire. That comes first, but we also have to support the body's natural detox pathways. And when we do that, then we can have some sustained health. So
Hmm.
I want to write that follow-up book and really talk about, how do we support the body's innate ability to remove toxins?
Yeah. And it's something that I talk a lot about is like fasting. Um,
Yes. Yes.
is that something that you align yourself with? Do you fast or okay?
Absolutely. I just did a 72-hour fast 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good for
And
you.
so twice a year, I'll do an extended fast, like I just did. So that was my spring one. But I follow an intermittent fasting, and it's been proven. Ladies, you need to get on to intermittent fasting. It is actually a way for our body's cells to deplete toxins. This is a
Hmm.
huge piece of the detox puzzle, is the intermittent fasting. So I follow a 16-8. I fast for 16 hours daily. I eat for an 8-hour window,
Hmm.
but I do that for 5 days.
Oh,
And then on the 6th day, I fast for 24 hours.
okay.
And on the 7th day, I either carb load or protein load. It's my
Hmm.
free day to load up on whatever I want. And when in the other windows, when I'm eating, I am equally eating, well, not equally, but I eat protein, fats, and fibers
Mm.
are the 3 things that I want to make sure I'm really getting into my nutrition, so that my body can do the best that it can be. So that's what I teach,
Yeah.
is the 511 eating plan for optimal health for our bodies.
Yeah, no, I love that, and it makes sense that when you're in your eating window, you're mainly doing protein and fats and some
Mm-hmm.
fiber because, you know, I always say that if when you're doing fasting, you really want to make the most of those meals, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want satiating meals, and not to say that you can't have carbs, like you said, you have your day of maybe sort of like a carb load, but carbs, they're not really essential per se. Your body can run off its own energy stores. But I like how you sort of mix it up and you do the 5 days and then you have your two
Yeah.
days, one day of a full fast and then, sort of a carb, a freedom day. Let's
Right. Well, and you can schedule those. It doesn't have to be 5 days in a row,
right.
1. You can do, if you've got a social event coming on, and maybe you're going to have that piece of cake, it's a
Right.
birthday party, a wedding, whatever, make that your free day so that you can,
Yeah.
eat that. I want people to, if there are foods that bring you joy, then eat them. Don't look at things as and I, maybe I'm talking against what you teach, but
Mm,
we don't want to be feeling like we have everything taken away from us.
yeah.
Now my body, because I eat the way I eat, when I get around sugar, I used to have the biggest sweet tooth, and
Hmm.
it does not taste so good to me anymore. So your body will naturally not want the things that you maybe had in the past. Um,
Yeah.
the
And
other thing too
go
with the
ahead.
fiber is that, we there I did was last summer I did a 30-day sugar detox, and I did 8 grams or less of sugar, which
Mm,
sugar and glucose are equal, and carbs are glucose, right? So when I was doing that, I found there were so many vegetables with high carb content,
oh yeah.
sugar, fruits as well. So it was really interesting. It was like I ate meat for 30 days.
And how did that go? Did you realize you're like, oh well, I don't need the sugar, right? Like you sort of like opened
It
your eyes, I'm sure.
that was the kick in the pants that I needed to really get over that sugar hump. So,
Yeah.
I did that last summer. And since then, I've really been sugar free. I don't even want that piece of cake. I just don't even, I've done it here and there. And it's like, oh, it just doesn't set well in my stomach. So we just don't do it.
Right. Right. I think that's so key. I think when you go for a period of time of eating pretty clean and getting into a rhythm, and then you sort of, break it and have, like you said, like a cake or something, and you just feel like crud.
Ah,
And you know what? It reminds you, like, I don't need this, right? Because I don't feel good. It doesn't align with me. And that's when you know you're sort of in a good rhythm as far as eating.
oh, and there's such good options out there. There's all kinds of sugar-free options for us to get great recipes if you want to have, something like that. Like for Reese's peanut butter cups were my nemesis. I
Oh,
mean, it was just like,
yeah. Peanut butter
and
chocolate for me.
oh,
Oh,
like you put those two together and it's
yeah,
like heaven on earth, right? Uh, so
yeah.
what I do instead is I take medjool dates, cut them in half, and put organic peanut butter inside of them. So good. I get
Oh,
the
nice.
sweet and the peanut butter, and it is delightful.
Okay, I'll try that.
It's good.
I'll
It's
try that.
good.
And I'm curious. I know you mentioned briefly. You did a 72-hour fast, so 4 days. That's great.
Mhm.
I've done some extended fasts. What did you learn from that?
Oh,
Mm,
goodness, Brian, there's so many learnings that go. Number one, I can do hard things.
right.
What an awesome thing, because when I started fasting, to make it 10 hours, 8 hour, was
Right.
a struggle. And then starting to do 24 hours and then 36 and working up the, first of all, work up to it. Don't go
Right.
out and try to do it, your first time out. So work up to it. So it's such an accomplishment to know I can do hard things. That's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard not to eat. We are programmed to want to fuel the body. The second thing, you really kind of get into a zone when
Mhm.
you're not worried about what you're going to eat and how you're going to eat. You about for me it's about 36-hour point. And until about 60 hours, there is such mental clarity going on there.
Oh yeah.
In that time frame, it's things are crystal clear. Fasting is a great time if you're like, I do one at the end of the year. Is that's when I review my year and I look forward to the new year and what I'm going to be doing and set my intentions. And I will fast during that time because I get really crystal clear
Mm.
on what's happening within me. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And you do it twice a year. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love
I'll
it.
do it in the spring. I'll do it in the late fall. Towards the end of the year.
And you're drinking pretty much water, tea, coffee, or just straight water?
I do water coffee. I do drink coffee. I drink organic coffee. Use the French press. I have some keto, not keto. What do I want to say?
Like a pre-
MCT oil
oh,
that
okay.
I will, add to that, and then water, and then I do a lot of salt.
Mm.
So I like the Redmond salt because it's more of a chunk, and you can just put a piece in your mouth and just kind of suck on it, dissolve it, just kind of keep the usually about 24 hours out is when I'll really start salting up. And then it's constant throughout the day going forward.
Yeah. No, that's great. And what would you say? I was looking at some of your stuff on your website. You have like a 3-day roadmap to wellness. Um,
Oh, yes.
yeah, what's that all about? I'm curious.
So we have two different options that we do. We've got a boot camp, and we do that once a month. We have a one coming up March 14th. I'm not sure when this is airing,
Hmm.
but if you go to our website transformingwomenshealth.com, we always have the next date of our next boot camp. So it's a 3-day, 4-night boot camp. We're walking people through how to take your hand off the fire, how to support the detox pathways in the body, and then we teach you how to eat in the 511 plan.
Oh, that's great. And what type of I write down like cooking tips. People, what should they be cooking in? to make sure that they're avoiding toxins as well?
Well, so number one is get rid of all the plastics in your kitchen. We don't want to have anything, because here's the thing: even though we put hot food in a storage container, so we're already going to leach out all of the PBAs, the phthalates that are BPAs, and the phthalates that are in the plastic because of the hot food we put in there after we've made food, right?
Right.
And the here's what we do: we take it out of the fridge, and what do? We stick it in the microwave, warm it up. So now we're just absorbing all that into the food. So don't use plastics. You can use stainless steel, you can use silicone, reusable silicone, you can use glass, mason jars, lots of great options out there, but ditch the plastic. When we talk about plastic in the kitchen, that's why I use a French press. What are your coffee makers made out of? Plastic. They've got plastic. Not only do they have plastic, but if you're using a percolator, it's got a tube that's pulling up the water, and that's getting full of bacteria and mold. So ditch that.
Yeah, what you see a lot, these like espresso machine, Nespresso, right? And then like those pods and stuff, right?
Yeah. Ugh, Keurigs, no.
Yeah, no. I
No
gotta
good. But look at your appliances, blenders. We that eat healthy, you do a lot of smoothies and juicing and that type of thing. Is the container plastic or is it glass?
Right.
Look at that stuff. What about your crock pot? If you still use a crock pot, is it ceramic? Is it painted glazed ceramic? Or do you have a stainless steel bowl in there? The Instapots have a stainless steel. Fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Don't use the non-stick surfaces. They're not good. Look, there's actually certifications that you can look for that show that they are non-toxic. And I can't remember off the top of my head what those certifications are, but I just use stainless steel to cook with. I don't even have non-toxic or what do you call it? Non-stick cookware. Right. Green Pan, Caraway are a couple good names of companies that have good dishes.
Yeah. And what would you say? Gotta hit something in my mind for you. What would you? Yeah, my mind's going all over because this is a topic that I'm definitely like interested in. Oh, this is what I say. Oh, I use a salt toothpaste. Yeah,
awesome.
And I love it, and everyone's like, "Oh, why using that?" But like how it's like you look at like Colgate and stuff, like just got to be tons of toxins in there, right?
Horrible for you. I suffer from cold sores. I have, obviously a virus in my body, and there's different things that can trigger it. Over-the-counter toothpaste are one of them. Yeah. There are so many toxins inside of them. Sodium lauryl sulfate, which is a known skin irritant, is in there. You have fluoride in there that can be very damaging to the body. Many other ingredients that we just simply want to avoid. So we want to be using that Think Dirty app to be finding some good toothpaste that don't have the nasty ingredients in it. It's funny you mentioned salt because I use salt crystals for deodorant instead of the regular store-bought deodorant, which are fantastic. And by the way, if you're eating clean, you don't have body odor. Did you know that?
That makes sense. That does make sense. So you said you use salt crystals for deodorant.
Yes.
So how does that? Do you just put it right on?
Yeah. So they'll come like one company that I order them from. They come in a twist up. The crystals inside of it. Then you just put it under hot water and like a roll on. Yeah, under your arms.
Oh, I like that.
So the cleaner you eat, the less body odor you have, because of the body odor that we get when we work out and we sweat is from bacteria. Right? Now we're all going to have bacteria on ourselves, but the cleaner we are, the less toxins we have, the less body odor, we will emit. And you want your body to sweat. You want to release that stuff. Don't use an antiperspirant.
Right. Yeah. Another great tip. Sweating. I just wrote something on that. I talked a little bit on it, my podcast about how important it is if you can sweat daily, that's so important.
Absolutely.
That's like your body's detoxing right? Your lymph
Yeah,
system.
there are, we detox through our skin, through our breath, through our liver, our digestive system, the liver, the kidneys, through what we express out, both, liquid and other, forms, as well as the lymph nodes, how move things through. That's kind of the sewage system of the body. But the breath is the number one detox pathway. Like close to 70% of your toxins are released through deep breath.
Hmm.
So workout is excellent because you are sweating. That is a part of it, but you're also deep breathing too.
Right. And when you talk about breath, it's important to breathe through your nose, right? Because that's like a
Yeah.
filtration system as opposed to just breathing through your mouth, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and you get that deep cleansing breath,
Hmm.
in through the nose, release it out through the mouth. Yeah.
Wow, a lot of good stuff here. I'll tell you, I'm definitely gonna. Yeah, I want to check out that app for sure. That's such a great tip for people to
You
do right
bet.
away, and definitely your book along with your ebook on your website, right? Which is a bunch of great tips.
Right. And I'm going to have to check my forward facing, because I have amiecarlson.com, which is AIMEE,
Hmm.
Carlson.com. That is my Toxin Terminator website.
I
So if
love
you
that
want
name.
to listen to the podcast, the book, those type of things, go there. Transforming Women's Health is where my services are. So if
Okay.
you want to coach with me, and I have a partner, she and I coach together, you'll go there. You'll be able to get into our boot camps, and those are $49. I
Yeah.
mean, that is nothing, and you're getting a wealth of information. As well as we have a monthly membership group that women, we open that up to women can join in. It's a safe space where you can continue to learn those 5 proven steps to get your body healthy.
Yeah, and that leads to my next question is I always ask my guests is what would be your one tip to, middle-aged women or men per se who are looking to get their body back to what it once was, maybe like 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, great question. Um, Add good fats
Mm,
to your diet. People have been so trained that fats are bad. Your cells are made up of fat. The membrane is made up of fat. When they're damaged, the only way to heal them is to get more fats into our diet. And that's how we're going to heal the cell membrane, because the cell membrane is the communicator. It's what's telling the insulin to turn on, turn off. It's what's telling the hormones to turn on, turn off. It is also the gateway to the cell.
mm-hmm.
And if it's damaged, toxins are trapped inside that cell. No matter what you're doing, eating right, exercising, it can't go anywhere because the membrane has been damaged. So my number one tip is we've got to fix the membrane and the cell before anything else can happen.
Right. So healthy fats. Can
Healthy fats.
and can you give a couple examples of some?
Oh my goodness.
I,
Tons of great
yeah,
healthy fats out there. Eat real butter.
right.
Immerse yourself in grass-fed butter. Eat it. You can have, MCT oil is a great healthy fat. You can eat avocado oil. Avocados themselves are great healthy fats to be eating. You can take a great omega supplement. We need to be supplementing with omegas because in order to really heal the cell, we've got to be in a 4-to-1 ratio with our omega-6s to omega-3s. The average body is at about a 12-to-1 ratio.
Right.
So good omega is fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
Salmon,
yeah, salmon.
tuna.
You get great fats just from like grass-fed, grass-finished meat as well, right? Like a ribeye.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what? Get your wild caught fish,
Right.
sustainably resourced, look for the grass fed, beef so that we get better quality beef. If you're going to eat it, I eat meat, eat the
Yeah.
meat if you want to eat the meat and your body does well with it.
Yeah. Well, this was great, Amy. A lot of great knowledge here. And yeah, so the best way to find you, amiecarlson.com. Is that right?
amiecarlson.com or transformingwomenshealth.com, either or.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and yeah, we'll look out for your next book. Do you know the title of the book yet or not yet?
The first one was called The Toxin Terminator. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking about calling the next one The Toxin Exterminator. I'm just not sure yet. I'm still playing around with the title.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Aimee. This was great.
Brian, what a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangrin.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again, and have a great day.